Hey, and we're back. So I see Jeff did a similar setup to mine with the Jack 4 flush. He had another sort of dog shit looking hand and went for the fantasy line upside with the king, which is 100% correct. I mean, his hand, I couldn't even imagine setting it a different way. Okay, so we got a little bit of conundrum. So I'm gonna play the flush. I think it's pretty obvious why. Just pairing that nine is good, of course, but and it would pay off if say we get two fives right away, and then we're in great shape. But otherwise, just really need to improve that flush. I mean, going from a two flush to a three flush early when it's still pretty live is a nice improvement. Now we're a favorite to make the flush in the bottom, and a substantial favorite to get there. Quote unquote get there if we include catching two fives right away or something like that. With all those aces left in the deck, I still like our chances. Although obviously that draw could have went a little bit better. All right, so okay, well this isn't so bad. Oh yeah, what am I thinking? Of course I do that. Yep. Well, maybe not, of course. No, that's fine. Yeah, yeah. I can still play two kings or two aces. So, play the queens in the middle. I mean, look, the thing about something like this is now we're in a position where we can get there right away with one draw. Not even a very special one. So, you know, if I had a chance to play two diamonds instead of the two queens, I would consider it, but one diamond? No way. And there we get there. Oh man, we ran pretty good. Wow, that's a case where a decision that looks close and probably is close, how do we start, makes a big difference. Not that we would be in such bad shape with a Jack 9 at the bottom. I mean, this is just a pretty decent hand. But, worked out maximally here. Just can't do better. Meanwhile, Jeff's hand is slowly improving. He had to, make a move I'm sure he didn't want to make right there. Pairing the aces, but it was the right move, Yeah, I might have held out. Actually, on second thought, I might have held out for two hearts. Or in two pair in the middle. I think at this point, because think of it this way, right? Avoiding the scoop is worth 5 points, right? Getting the tens up top is worth 5 points. Haha. Jeff's commenting on his own move. Well, that might be an interesting one to run. I've showed the simulation in another video, and all that's really doing is just playing out both sides a bunch of times, shuffling the deck and seeing what happens. This is an interesting hand. I think this might be one I simulate, considering that there were a couple of choices, and mine worked out pretty well. I got lucky, and then Jeff is a very good player. Made that move right there that I just don't really know about, but it's his logic is sound, which is got to do something because he's about to get crushed. But what is that something? And I think I would have tried to leave myself a flush in the bottom or two pair in the middle or both. You know, because like I said, just the I just think it's easier to make those. And he wasn't gonna win the hand anyway. All right, what do we have here? Talking a bit too much. Okay, so I don't have any trips, right? I don't. Okay, so no full houses. So I'm gonna make a flush in the bottom. Question is what do I do with the rest of the hand? So I see two flushes and then ace high. Can I do better? Okay, so I can either do two flushes and an ace high, or I can do this. I can do aces up top and a flush. So I'm gonna do the aces. It's one more point of bonus because the aces are like a sick plus 9 point bonus. The middle flush is only 8, and it weakens my other hands a little bit. I'm much more likely to lose the bottom now with a queen high flush as opposed to an ace high flush, and I'm definitely much more likely to lose the middle. But with the ace high up top, I wasn't likely to scoop anyway, and I'm a big fan of not taking points off the board. So this is one more point of bonus. So if my opponent fouls or makes a monster, I'm getting one more point. And I just don't think that, I'm that much more likely to scoop the other way. Although I'm certainly a little bit more likely to scoop the other way. I hope that makes a little bit of sense. And I'm an idiot because I had a full house after all. So even though I don't think I could have made good use out of it necessarily. I didn't see it. Wow, yes I could have. Oh my god, I completely misplayed my hand. So do you see it? I could have played the full house. Fives on the bottom, two pair in the middle, aces up top. Yeah, just didn't see the full house. Wow. This happens a lot. That was embarrassing. Yeah, it goes to show. Always good to double and triple check your hands. It's an interesting thing about pineapple is right there. Um, I mean, how many points did that cost myself by not playing that full house? Yeah, I mean, I know exactly how many. It's 2 points. I would have had basically the same exact hand, but a full house in the bottom instead of a flush. And the same two pair. I mean, the bigger two pair, actually, but... So that's 2 points. So, say you're a really good player, and you have like a half a point or even a point edge per hand against your opponent. You just miss something like that for 2 points, and, you're giving up, all of your edge, essentially. People before asked, there was a big thing where you used to be able to foul in Fantasyland until I added a check against that. I mean, you can still foul if you want to. It still allows you to pass that hand, but it just sort of gives you a warning. I'm telling you, man, people who play every day, really good players, some of the best players in the world, uh, once in a while we'd all foul in Fantasyland. Just a mislip, just wasn't counting. Anyway, okay, so this hand is, I think, pretty straightforward. You got to go for Fantasyland. The 8-7 is good enough on the bottom. We're not necessarily trying to make a straight here. We just want to make something. I should probably simulate this as well. Kind of want to simulate everything, just to sort of have a baseline. This hand happens so often. Just like, what is my odds of qualifying for Fantasyland here? Which is a king up top, which is a big favorite, and something on the bottom, which is a big favorite. We got to make both, right? Okay, so here, I can slot a live card, but I've learned from experience, this early in the hand, when it's fully live, it doesn't really make any difference. However, it's not fully live because one of the sevens is gone, so we'll go ahead and slot it in. The tiebreaker here is that even though Jeff is, again, very correctly setting himself out of upside, he's not actually likely to make the flush. He very often backs off with two pair, with all these diamonds out, so any two pair we're going to make are going to beat his two pair. And of course, he can make like trip nines or something, but just keep taking all the cards he wants. Okay, and this is the downside right here of slotting that live jack. It's not just about, it's not one way. It's not just about greed for the full house. It's also that now we can't play the fives in the bottom, and that really hurts us. This really, really damages our hand. Like, this is costing us several points here, because we're still a favorite to make a king or a queen up top, right? And we're still a favorite to make the bottom. But to do both in one hand, you see, boom, cost us. So, kind of a thematic spot. This is another one I really want to run with a simulation, just to sort of get an idea of tracking over each move, how our odds of going to Fantasyland were affected throughout. I mean, that's really the only number we care about here from the very beginning. And, I think it'll be close, but it wouldn't surprise me if even putting the live jack there was bad, even with one of the sevens out, just because of what happened, I mean, if it was 100% live, I don't think I'd do it. And if it was a little bit more dead, it would be a no-brainer to slot it there. But as it were, and each hand is a little bit unique, right? Like, I don't think it makes that much of a difference, but the fact that between us we had a lot of pairs, makes it a little bit easier to, to catch a live card. So actually, that's not the case here. Every card is represented. Every card sort of through the deck is, none of them are all four live. But when you do see that, you can run into really weird cases where you're like very likely to make a pair in hand, which sounds crazy, but it does happen. Okay, so, this is a perfect example of making the hand you have right away. We can obviously fold up, hold that for the full house, and we'll get there a lot of the times, but not often enough that it's worth it. And you see what my opponent has. He's going to make a 5 or a 6, for two pair for sure. So unless he catches a 4, we're winning the bottom. Winning is nice. Okay, well, this is funny if we play the 10s in the middle. Not that I ever would. Could have something like two pair and the trips going. I actually like his hand. Even though he just has to catch an ace. And an ace only is a good hand. Let's see what we can do here. So, just no good. Any way you slice it. We'll just play the livest cards, It's kind of like, that's the chess equivalent of developing pieces. I know I've made that analogy before. you know, if you don't really have anything good going, then just play the livest moves. You give yourself some fantasy line upside, right? Okay, so here we have no upside whatsoever. The one thing is the 8 is kind of live. So let's just do this. We can't foul, and we might pick up like a point bonus in the end. You know, the good news is unless he catches an ace, we're just going to win an easy 6 points. And that's what we're going to do. So we're going to take it down. You know, for practice, I try to make the optimum move as far as improving my hand at all times, even when it doesn't matter. It also affects my stats. I don't know. Maybe as a baseball guy, it's kind of like hitting in a blowout and you're still trying to, you know, have good at-bats and, you know, whatever. Okay, so yeah, the full house is obvious. I mean, the full house draw. So what do we do here? I'm going to go ahead and play the live 9. You know, especially considering that if I get 2 9s right here, I might just make trips to the middle. Go ahead and win that row, etc. Yeah, that's fine. This is okay. What Jeff did here is pretty smart, which is locking him into that gut shot with a 5. Because it's live, his hand is set up well for the rest of it. You know, the nice thing about being committed to a straight, even if it's a gut shot, and frankly, even if it's a partially dead gut shot, is you can play the rest of your hand as though you already made the straight, which can be kind of a little bit of relief. And you know, you don't have to decide whether to gamble or not. You know, in the end decision, you know, you don't have situations where you have 2 good options, but you can only play one, and you know, and I'm getting the needle. And like I had just said, you know, this is the nice thing about committing to a gut shot is you can play your hand aggressively, and sometimes you just get there right away. Oh man, that's pretty sick. Yeah, so like I said before, here, you know, we're now the shoe's on the other foot. We might as well play trips in the middle. It's a 2-point bonus, and it wins the middle. You know, and it's like if we end up with 2 pair, what are we doing anyway? You know, he's winning the bottom with a straight. He's got aces. He's not going to foul. I would have wished the 7 was a better card, like a king we could put up top, but I don't mind taking foul risk in this spot. All right. And let's see if we got... oh, wait, that king. That's so sick. But you see, we didn't have it anyway, you know? Turn that 7 into an 8, and we got ourselves a great hand. We couldn't have made 2 pair in the middle anyway. At least he did something I really don't understand, and certainly don't agree with. I mean, I understand it, I just don't agree with it, which is putting the 5 up top to try to make trips aces in the middle. And even that worked out. So look at that. So look at that move. I talked to it a little bit quickly, so let me just show you what I mean. You know, doing the replay here. He goes, sets himself up, boom, gets there. Yeah, so you see here, you know, Jeff wants to get trip aces in the middle for bonus and to beat me, right? So that's why he gets rid of his live spots up top with the 5. But there's 4 kings left. There's 4 freaking kings left. Like, I'd love to know his odds of catching 2 kings, and maybe this is another one I'll simulate. I mean, it sounds like I'll be simulating, you know, from now until forever. And the thing about it is, I'm going to foul most of the time anyway. You know, he doesn't need that trip ace to beat me in the middle because I'm going to foul. And it's 2 points. But again, you know, what percentage do you need to improve the top for Fantasyland? You know, Fantasyland is 20 versus 2. I mean, I know what the right move is, but I'd love to count it. In general, though, I think he's, you know, there's a reason he's beating me for all these points. He's playing real good. And I like the way he set himself up for that gut shot, like I said. And then taunted me about it, which is fair. You know? Okay, so a little bit of tilt, but this is a move, like I said, I don't even think about. You know, even if, you know, you have blurry vision, you can see Jeff's got a good hand setting up. So I got to gamble. You know, I got to gamble. Always got to gamble. This is a great move. I mean, this is a great draw. You know? So many ways to get there. None of them that likely. But I only got to do the one. Okay. So, interesting. Let's think about this for a second. So only 1 king left and possibly 0 kings. Let's do the easy move first. So we're going to kill a card. Question is now, do we kill the full house? Which doesn't really matter at all until we make an ace or a king. So, yeah, we're going to do this anyway. I mean, the problem is we can't make a wheel in the middle, right? So, you know, The 3 isn't that live. It's a real bummer he caught a king, though. I didn't like that at all. Better not catch 2 8s now. Oh, he got our ace. Man, we're just... but we tried. I mean, this is the only thing we could have done with this hand. I mean, look what a good hand he has. I mean, I almost feel lucky to only lose 18 points here once we fell. So, something I kept saying in the Anish video, you gotta gamble when you're behind. Okay, so we have a wheel here, obviously. That has to be our baseline. That's pretty good. We can play the middle with ease. We can play the rest of it with ease. What's our alternative, right? So just the ace like this isn't that appealing. We'll have to use another ace to finish the bottom or a 6. It's too vulnerable. The question is, this is really the only alternative. But I don't like it because look at all the middle cards we get that we can't use unless they're spades. So, to sort of hurry this up, let's just play the wheel. I don't always make this move, but, it's not about the wheel being good or bad. It's about what is our alternatives. And here our alternatives ain't that great. And as it were, they would have been great. But what are you going to do? Yeah, so that's fine. Of course, here, we would have loved to play those in the bottom instead. But now we're just going to try to make some, 2-pair or trip 6s. Alright. Oh, man, so many spades. Sometimes you make a move and it just really doesn't work out. So, yeah, let's just do it this way. We might as well catch 10-9 and pick up some points, 10s and 9s are live. I don't want to overstate my point, but, every hand plays out a little bit differently. Every hand's unique. You can have reasonable people making reasonable choices. Sometimes they really don't work out. And sometimes it's not the right choice. It's really hard to look at this position right here and to think anything other than I made a big mistake by not playing ace 2-3 in the middle and going for spades in the bottom. And maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. Okay, so at least we're improving a little bit. Okay, so the queen is live. This should be the move, but, we're getting scooped everywhere. I kind of like playing the ace and, maybe winning the top. I mean, although it cuts our Fantasyland chances by quite a bit. If I knew I'm making trip 6s, I'd play the queen. But you see a lot of times this happens too, where the ace does help us try to win the top. Doesn't really matter. Nope. Alright, so it's been a pretty interesting match. See if we're going to play some more or maybe call it a day. Definitely a couple spots I'd love to run, and also I'd love to get people's alternative takes on.